G'day everyone, Greg here from Fishplate Films and welcome back to the workbench. We're doing a review today. Another one. I don't do too many reviews because I'm a fussy old fart, but occasionally something comes along that I think is worth reviewing. And this is one. As mentioned in my update video, I would be reviewing this Atlas 73-foot center partition car, or Centerbeam car as they're more commonly called. I love these things. Of course, we don't get them in Australia. We don't get very many interesting freight cars at all down here, which is why I model American. But been wanting these for a long time, and MB Klein had these on sale, so I bought half a dozen because we don't see them very often, and when we do, they're very expensive. Lovely car, some nice detailing, but as I mentioned in my other video, it has plastic axles. So we're going to change the axles out to metal axles using intermountain wheel sets, which are a tiny bit short in the axle length, only by a fraction, so we have to raise the coupler height, and we're going to change the couplers out. So let's do that and we'll have a look at the model when it's done. The bottom of the car has nice detail and is made of metal construction to give the car some added weight. Brake rods and cylinders, including a triple valve, are all well detailed. The vertical bracing is also nicely done, which includes hooks for straps. Also, the ratchet tie downs are moulded onto the side of the car. These would stand out nicely with a little bit of detailed painting. The car loading warnings are very nicely done, and all the small lettering is easily read. Wire grab irons and photo etched metal end plates help round out this nice model. The first job is to remove the plastic couplers and replace them with number 58 scale KDs. Be careful when removing the lid, as the nicely detailed train line hose does come with it. Next, make sure you clean up the paint around the sprue that holds the coupler in, as this can interfere with how nicely the brass centering spring fits. Next, drop your centering spring in, making sure that you get rid of the coupler cut bar that's moulded and just sitting there in front. Also, just make sure the brass centering spring is sitting flat on the floor, otherwise this will foul the coupler. And then drop in some dry graphite powder. Before I install any coupler, I polish the end of the shank with some very fine glass paper. This just puts a bit of a shine on it and makes it slide easily across the brass centering spring. When doing up the coupler pocket lid, make sure it isn't too tight and stops the coupler from turning. Right, we've done the coupler replacement and now we're going to move on to the trucks. As you can see there, we have our plastic axles, metal wheels, but we're going to replace them with intermountain wheels. And the only reason why I'm using intermountain wheels is because I have a lot of them that I bought for my Atlas DVG cars before I knew that there was different axle lengths and all that sort of thing. So if you have a look, they are a little bit sloppier. Not much at all, but they are a little bit sloppier than the factory plastic ones. It's not much, but it makes a little bit of difference. You can see there's a little bit more. So what we're going to do is to take the plastic axles out, replace them with intermountain, and then we have to adjust the coupler height with some shim washers under the trucks. So for this job we're using some KD fibre washers, and well, their thickness is 0.15 of an inch thick. That's the ones we're using, and the number is KD number 208. Where are we? There we go, KD number 208. Now what I'm going to be doing is painting these wheels as a pre-weather, just before I actually weather the car, which will probably be months down the road. But I'm going to be using the old paint pen, Woodland Scenics paint pen, And are they Woodland Sandix? Tidy Track, there you go. And what I do is, it's very quick and easy, give the pen a good shake and just dip it in there. Now this, the tip of this pen's getting a bit old, but don't worry, it doesn't go up into the axles. And then I just rub my finger around the outside there to get the paint off the rim to give it that pre-humped look, or should I say post-humped look. You know that look? Yeah, you know that one. And what this does is just give, when this pen had a new tip, it was, where are we? It worked really easy. It's getting a bit frayed now. But no, there's no paint gets up into the axles there, because you just keep it there like that, and that gives you a nice little rusty wheel until you get around to weathering it properly. But still, that's pretty darn good. And it's quick and easy. And if you hold the pen like that, don't put too much pressure on it. There you go. Give it the post-humped look again. And now when I weather the wheels on my ethanol tankers, I do not do that because they are not humped. So there you go. And now we have, and of course when the trucks are weathered with the airbrush, they get a slightly different brown on them, and it looks even better. But for now, this will do until to get that shininess off them, so we can run them on the layout and not look too bad. Now our fibre washer is in place, and we will place the truck back on there like that. Now the only issue being that I have found with these is that these screws, and they Atlas give you a nice little washer on the end there, which is nice, but they're only just long enough, and they're going into metal, and even though they're quite a they're quite a bitey screw there, I found on a couple of them that the thread strips. It's just not enough, so I have to put a little bit of plastic, a tiny little bit of plastic in the hole, just to shim it out a little bit for the screw to bite on. So I'll have a look and see how we go, and if I have to do that, I do. If not, we'll be right. Okay, I did have to shim it because the screw was just not biting enough. Now what I did, I cut off a little bit of this spring here from the plastic coupler, and that was enough just to drop in the hole and shim it out enough to give the screw enough bite. And now we have just a little bit of play there. You don't want too much, and that's all good. So we'll do the other one, and then we'll put it on the track and see how it goes. And let's check our coupler height there. Yes, lovely. And actually the trip pin's a good height too. So I have to be very careful with the trip pins on my layout, because I use short shank couplers on my locos to get them more realistically closer together. And that brings the couplers from the freight cars very close to the plows. So I have to make sure that the trip pins are slightly lower than normal, just by a tiny bit, so they don't get caught on the snow plows, on the locos. I'm actually thinking of cutting all the trip pins, the ends of them off, not completely off, because I think they look good hanging down. They look like air hoses. And I'm thinking of cutting them off just to where the two trip pins cross over, so they look like two air hoses connected, rather than cut them off completely. Happy with that? Well, there you have it, the old Atlas Masterline Centerbeam cards from their Masterline range. And welcome back to the workbench. Will you shut up? There's always somebody interrupting what I'm doing. Anyway, you never know with these Atlas cars what you're going to get axle-wise. I've had some 4650 grain hoppers, which I think are great grain hoppers. Very well detailed. They're missing train line hoses and couple of cut bars, but their photo etching of the metal roofways is very good. Their details are very good. They're rock solid construction, and I really like them. For a working car on a layout, the Atlas stuff is very good. Their Masterline stuff is very good. But the axles, those grain hoppers had, not only did they have metal axles, they actually had semi-scale wheels, which I really like. When you have semi-scale wheels, the treads are a lot thinner, and they look more prototypical. When you compare them to a standard HO scale wheel, the treads are really fat, and the semi-scale wheels are very nice. So I've had some Atlas Masterline with those, and I've had these, and all my DDG hoppers have plastic axles, so you never know. But detail, very good. So when we replaced them with the Intermount, of course the axles were a little bit sloppy, tiny bit, so the truck sat down, sunk a little bit, and that's why we had to put the spacers in to correct the couple height. And also what would happen if you didn't do that, the trucks would sit down a little bit because of the axles would move a little bit in the axle box, and the wheels actually rub the top of the cars, so a little bit. So you have to raise the height. So anyway, there you go. Hope you enjoyed that review, and there'll be more coming up on the Birdwood sub very, very soon. Something a bit staticky. Hint, hint. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Hooroo for now. Bye-bye. You can talk now. Hey, yeah.